don't always need high-speed quads, massive terrain parks, and 4,000 feet of vertical drop to come into the ski lodge with a massive smile on your face. There's hundreds of ski resorts that you've probably never heard of, which boast some of the world's best skiing. From the East Coast to the Midwest to the Rockies, and all the way up into Alaska, here are the top 10 ski resorts that you've probably never heard of. Coming in at number 10, we have Monarch Mountain in Colorado, which actually has the second highest snowfall in the whole state of Colorado. Monarch averages roughly 350 inches a year, given the resort sits at an extremely high elevation where the base is at 10,790 feet. Monarch doesn't even need any snowmaking machines because of this high average snowfall. The lift tickets here are over $100 cheaper than most other Colorado ski resorts, where it costs just $99 for a full day pass. Monarch also offers cat skiing, which is where a snow cat or snow groomer will bring skiers to a section of the mountain that isn't accessible by lifts and gives skiers and riders access to some of the best untouched terrain in Colorado. Just on the other side of the snowcat area, there's some world-class bowl skiing in areas that aren't often visited like other massive ski resorts in Colorado. If you're looking for more beginner and intermediate terrain, there's plenty of base to peak lifts that offer long green and blue runs. If you can't make it all the way out to Colorado and live in the Midwest, well, there's a resort at the very northern tip of Michigan known as Mount Bohemia that arguably has better snow than most places in the Rockies. Mount Bohemia sits right off Lake Superior and is 39 miles from the nearest town, making it in the absolute middle of nowhere. The skiing is so good that locals will sleep in their cars that they're allowed to park at the resort's parking lot for days to access this incredible Midwest terrain. Mount Bohemia averages over 270 inches a year, where powder days can come out of nowhere due to the lake effect snow coming off Lake Superior. This definitely isn't the place for beginners, where there's not a single groomed run on the whole mountain. Most of these runs are glades, where skiers and riders can carve through the trees and go off many of the cliffs that lie within these runs. Unlike many resorts out west, if you find yourself feeling like you're a little in over your head on one of these runs, well, there's not many options to traverse out and find an easier run. This area is pretty much only for advanced and expert skiers. But if you're looking for a mountain that's potentially even more remote than Mount Bohemia, well, look no further than Showdown Mountain in Montana. Showdown Mountain is 33 miles from the nearest supermarket and is actually Montana's oldest continually operating ski resort. The owner of this mountain knows most of the skiers by name, and this is as far from a touristy mountain as it gets. Showdown is another mountain that doesn't have any snow machines, given this mountain receives plenty of snow each year, coming in at an annual 280 inches. This resort has just 3 lifts with not much vert, but the steep trees offer challenging terrain for advanced skiers. This is the perfect place for skiers and riders who never want to wait in a lift line, as this mountain only sees a couple hundred skiers a day. If you're low on money, this is also a great option, as a full day pass typically costs just $50. If you're looking for another resort with small crowds, but many more advanced runs and terrain, then you should check out our 7th most underrated ski resort, Solitude in Utah. Solitude is just 15 miles from Salt Lake City, but the resort gets nowhere near as crowded as the nearby Snowbird in Alta. In fact, Solitude claims that they have the most powder per person ratio than any other resort in the United States. This is due in part to their legendary average snowfall of 500 inches per year. Solitude also has a much more impressive vertical drop than the 3 previous resorts, coming in at 2,494 feet. The peak goes up to 10,000 feet, where there's some very advanced chutes and bowls that overlook the peaks of Utah's Big Cottonwood Canyon. With half of the mountain having advanced or extreme trails, the mountain definitely caters towards more advanced skiers looking for some untouched powder. If you're with your family, Solitude also does offer plenty of beginner and intermediate terrain on the lower part of the mountain that are perfect for children and newer skiers and riders. But if you don't have the money to make it out to the West Coast and are looking to ski on a budget, the next underrated ski resort may be the cheapest spot to ski in North America. Cochran's ski area in Vermont is located just 20 minutes from Vermont's largest city, Burlington. Cochran's has a tradition of having a community dinner and evening ski for the price of just $5. Yes, this dinner and lift pass from 3 to 8 p.m. is just $5. You can also get a season pass to this mountain for just $295. Cochran's is definitely one of the smaller mountains on this list, where there aren't any chairlifts, just a T-bar and 2 tow ropes. There's also only a 350-foot vertical drop and 15 skiable acres, but you might be surprised to hear that the mountain is home to several Olympic athletes. Cochran's has alpine racing training opportunities for children 6 and up. This mountain prides itself as a great spot to learn how to ski alpine before making the jump to bigger mountains. Cochran's ski area is the only ski mountain in the US that is labeled as a non-profit. Once you have the basics down at Cochran's, a massive step up from here would be flying out to Wyoming and visiting our 5th most underrated ski resort, Grand Targhee. This mountain is always overshadowed by its monster to the south, Jackson Hole. Although Grand Targhee has half the vertical drop that Jackson Hole has, Grand Targhee actually has more skiable acreage than Jackson Hole. There are few trees on this mountain, so most of the runs go ungroomed. Because everybody has their eyes on Jackson Hole, Grand Targhee is also typically pretty quiet, making powder days that much better. In fact, Grand Targhee has many powder days, given this mountain averages over 500 inches of snow a year. The snow is so consistent that Grand Targhee has very few snowmaking machines, and they really don't need any at all. Pretty much all the runs here are top to bottom skiing, where skiers and riders can enjoy 2,000 feet of vertical descent on each run. If you're looking for steep powder, Grand Targhee has some phenomenal hike-to terrain with powder-filled bowls that extend for roughly 1,000 feet. Grand Targhee also has a snowcat operation where skiers can access even more untouched powder from these snowcats' assistance. If you want skiing similar to Grand Targhee, but a much better ski town attached with it, try out our 4th most underrated ski resort, Whitefish, Montana. Whitefish is a relatively new mountain, but has quickly become Montana's 2nd largest ski resort. Because Whitefish is located in northwest Montana, close to Glacier National Park, the resort is harder to get to than most places in the west. This limits the crowd size and allows for very small lift lines. Whitefish is unique in that most of the mountain faces south, which allows for a lot of sun. In California, and even most resorts in Colorado, this wouldn't work as the south-facing mountains have far less snow, but in Montana, the cold weather and higher cloud coverage allows for Whitefish to be south-facing. The Big Mountain Express is their main lift, which gives over 2,000 feet of vertical and offers terrain for all skier levels. There's also a backside terrain to Whitefish that features some cliffs and steeper terrain for advanced skiers. The best part of this mountain, though, is actually the town of Whitefish, which has everything you could ever want in a ski town, from great bars, restaurants, shops, and lodging. If you're really trying to test your boundaries when it comes to skiing, there might not be a better spot in the lower 48 than Silverton, Colorado, coming in at our 3rd most underrated ski resort. Silverton is known as the steepest resort in Colorado and receives some of the most snow as well. Silverton is unlike any other resort on this list, where it's only open Thursday to Sunday, and for most of the year, you have to ski with a guided group. There's groups of varying ski levels, where these guides will bring you to some of the most extreme terrain Colorado has to offer. This is definitely not the spot to worry about large crowds, as there's typically less than 100 people who visit the mountain each day. Silverton only has 1 ski lift and also has the highest accessible terrain in North America, where the hike-to terrain goes all the way up to 13,487 feet. When you're in your group with a guide here, you can expect to hike anywhere from 5 minutes to up to an hour, depending on the difficulty level that you signed up for. If you're in a group that hikes for 15 minutes or more off the lift, you can expect to go down some incredible bowls and chutes, which are all extremely steep. Once you make it to the bottom, you'll likely have to take a shuttle that brings you back to the resort's 1 chairlift. But if you don't like the idea of all this hiking and want to access North America's most extreme terrain right off the chairlift, you'll have to head up to Alaska for the 2nd most underrated ski resort, known as Alyeska. This mountain is the true steep and deep resort of North America, which averages 669 inches of snow annually. Alyeska has 7 total lifts, which brings skiers and riders up 2,500 feet of vertical. Because Alyeska is in the extreme north, it's dark for much of the winter here, which is why Alyeska offers night skiing for a large portion of their mountain. This mountain is especially popular though late into the spring months, when the light stays out for longer hours, like in March and April. Alyeska is close to many heli skiing areas, which makes the mountain a good warm-up if you are thinking about going heli skiing. One of Alyeska's best aspects is their extremely long top-to-bottom runs, which are groomed, making them perfect for intermediate skiers who are looking to carve for miles. But if you can't make it all the way up to Alaska, or want longer days during the winter, but with still the same amount of snowfall and even longer runs, that brings us to our #1 most underrated ski resort in North America, Powder Mountain in Eden, Utah. Powder Mountain is very under the radar when compared to Utah resorts like Park City and Snowbird, but many would be surprised to hear that Powder Mountain actually has more acreage to ski than both of these resorts. In fact, Powder Mountain actually has the most skiable acreage in the whole United States, with 8,464 acres serviced by 9 lifts and 154 runs. Much of this skiable acreage is serviced through a snowcat tour that skiers and riders can sign up for if you pay an extra $25. Powder Mountain fits the name well, as the resort receives over 500 inches of snow annually, and this snow is some of the lightest and fluffiest in the world. A lift ticket is $110, which is also much cheaper than most large US resorts, and Powder Mountain also caps the number of people who are able to ski here to just 1,500 a day in order to keep the lift lines down. I'm curious though, do you think I missed any underrated resorts that should have been on this list? Let me know in the comments, and if you're also passionate about skiing, make sure to give this channel a follow.